for joining here in person and online. There are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people here at Village Grace Church, and we have 17 people online. So,
17?
17.
Nice.
Let's see, we've got one,
I have counted 14 of those online as members, so we have a quorum even if nobody in the room is a member.
Okay. If anyone is a member, please raise your hand here in the room.
Is a member?
Is a member, yes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 members in the room, Will. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 board members with us. Awesome. Current board members, anyways. Awesome. Okay. On our agenda tonight, we have our call to order. Then we're going to go over committee reports, followed by our elections. And then if there's any new business, announcements, and then we will adjourn for the evening. Should be out of here a little bit earlier than we usually are. All right, and then, okay, if there were no changes submitted to the October meeting minutes, and if there are no changes, now we'll consider those approved. Hearing none. Okay. October meeting minutes are approved. All right. Our next piece is our committee reports. We'll start with officer reports and then move into our committees. So, I know we had officer reports last month, and annual meeting, so that maybe you might want to give another report if you want to. If not, that's fine. So as this is my last meeting as president, I've been thinking a lot about this journey that we've been on this year. Despite everything, I think it's been an incredibly successful year. We got the funding and brought back dumpster days, which was hugely successful and wildly popular, as was our largest ever community garage sale this year with over 100 participants, filling the neighborhood with energy and conversation. And then one of my favorite moments, the repainting of the street mural, which brought the whole community back together again, repainting that. And then on top of that, all of our advocacy some of our advocacy efforts paid off. We were able to gain traction on funding for the Multnomah Arts Center, and we also the Planning Commission voted to kind of align with our recommendation not to change to 200 units for CM2 zones. So big wins for us there. But mostly I just want to thank everyone for trusting me and walking alongside me and supporting me on this journey. It's been an honor to serve, and I'm looking forward to cheering on everyone in the sidelines and still being involved a little bit in the years ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Treasurer, Peter, do you have a report?
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I posted online for this in the meeting materials is a current as of October 31st, our financial statement. And I just want to point out the format here, because I've worked over many months to make things simpler and clearer. So on the yellow in the yellow panel here is our statement of financial position. This is what a for-profit company would call the balance sheet. In the green is our statement of activity, which is sometimes called profit and loss or income statement. I think of greatest interest to most people is the little box in pink, and this is where you can find information about if you are a committee chair or a project leader, project manager. This is where you can find out how much funding you have available for future projects that you may be thinking of. Overall, this we have, I'm quite pleased with our financial position. We have almost $22,000 in the bank and in PayPal and Venmo and bottles and cans and, you know, this goes on and on. But 22,000, you know, that's real money. Um, Over 50%, 60% or so came in donations, either individual donations or, um, in-kind donations or business donations or sponsorships. So it shows a really broad spectrum of community support, which is really gratifying to, I think, should be to all of us. You're welcome to look at any of the line items, ask me questions anytime. Next up for me as the treasurer is I'll be presenting at the December meeting our performance of actuals versus budget. And at the same time, I'm going to be inviting committee members, committee chairs and project managers to give me some sense of what they foresee for next year. It would help me to build a budget. Otherwise, I will make numbers up based on how this year went and how I see next year may be different. I've received project ideas and budget from maybe 3 committees so far. I'm going to repeat the system that we have where every committee gets what I call a standard allocation. This year it was $480. Next year, I think I'll raise it to 500, just the math is simpler. But we have almost no one has ever used that money. So I just would love to hear some ideas for things that people would like to do. We have money that you can use, and if you if you can spend up to that standard allocation without getting any kind of approval. Anything above that, write me a little business plan, just 1 or 2 pages of a plan for the project, and show me where you expect revenue to come from, or if you're just asking from the general funds, what expenses you foresee, and let's just have a conversation about projects you would like to see happen or make happen yourself. So I always invite any questions people have about our finances, but I feel really good about this organization, which 2 years ago at this time, we had $364. So congratulations to us all. Any questions? Yeah.
Of the 22,000, some of it was donated with a specific project in mind, wasn't it?
Yep. And you'll find that in the little pink box here. There are 2 levels of what Tad is describing. Donor restricted money comes in from basically it may not be a written contract, but it's a moral contract to spend money on a specific purpose or project. There's also a category called board designated funds. And that's money that has come in with an understanding that it would be spent in a certain way, but it less formally documented. And the board is saying, okay, we are going to spend this money specifically on, for example, Spring Garden Park or the Equity Committee. And then beyond that, people are free to design projects and spend money, and we always need a little bit left over to pay our overhead bills, which are maybe $2,000 a year. It's not very much, but we do have about 2/3 of that in a savings account separate from checking, which I call operating reserves, just in case cash gets tight, we can pay our bills for. It's stuff like Squarespace and our Zoom subscription and stuff like that. Yeah.
How many dollars are represented in the pink box?
Well, it speaks to all of this. This accounts for all our dollars right now in the bank,
Mhm.
but the part that is available for general operating funds is 70, almost 7,200.
Okay, so
So
about,
10,000 is dedicated, if you will,
yeah,
to individual projects or committees. 4,400 is for designated funds, and 475 is donor restricted funds.
that sounds like everything in the pink box, about 15,000, is the beginning of a budget.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah.
if only $7,000 is unbudgeted, that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. And, but let me just emphasize that unless I hear from you, from members or committee members, I will just be sort of fashioning a budget for next year based on what I see as this year's activity or new ideas that may be in the pipeline right now.
Excuse me, I have a question about the budget.
Yeah,
The online. Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm wondering if any of that money can be set aside for the neighbors who live adjacent to the Safe Rest Village for mediation or an attorney to help with all the issues that we cannot get resolved through Portland Solutions at the mayor's office.
I'm having a really hard time understanding that, just hearing and understanding the question. Can you
She
interpret it
wants
for
to
me?
know if some money can be set aside for attorneys,
For what?
for attorneys, legal.
Returns.
Oh,
related to-
yeah, write me a plan.
Yeah.
What would the amount be and what would the need be? What need would we address with that?
Safe Rest Village.
I understand that the neighbors are meeting and possibly trying to gather funds to get an attorney to get help with all the problems at the Safe Rest Village. And
Hmm.
wondered if the board will match whatever funds that the neighbors raise.
Well, I think what Peter's saying is for the CAC group to go ahead and prepare a report and a proposal. I don't know about any matching because if you guys raised $20,000, there's no way we could match that. So I don't know if we
The
can.
problem is I'm wearing my neighbor hat tonight, not my CAC hat. I'm not speaking for the CAC. I'm speaking for the adjacent neighbors.
Then I would say as a neighbor to reach out to the CAC, and they do have regular monthly meetings and you can work with them. There's 4 on the committee. It's open to any neighbor can attend those Multnomah CAC meetings and work together to develop a plan and a proposal that you'd like to submit to request some sort of funding.
Okay, and I understand from the presentation, there's approximately $7,000 in that available.
I don't know if $7,000 will be fully granted for your project. We do have other expenses that we need to budget for the year.
Yeah.
But you can definitely submit your request and then the board would discuss and award what they see fit.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions for Peter?
Thank you, Diane. Anything else?
Does a list reside somewhere for the projects that you say there? The projects are all listed on that
Yeah.
There, okay.
Yeah.
The other ones are, it is allocated.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the list that he's sharing is on the meeting materials drive. It's an open public folder in our shared Google Drive. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Peter. And our regular secretary, Julie, is not here tonight, so we will skip her report and move on into our committees. Beth, would you like to give an update on District 4 Coalition?
Hi, everybody. Sorry I was a few minutes late. I was attending a meeting before this meeting. Let's see, District 4. Well, we're moving right along with, we're just setting up a nominating committee. We have just set that up, and we are sending out, we've just put assigned each of us in the governance committee / nominating committee is charged with sending out invitations to other people on the board of District 4, see what they would be interested, if they'd be interested in re-upping, and if they would be interested in being president. So that's what we've been concentrating on for now, and I'm not sure I have anything more to report on that. We're kind of doing the same thing you all are doing in MNA. We're mirroring each other.
Okay, so there's a nominating committee for District 4 board representatives?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, to join the board, and if they are interested in being president. So the current president is not running for re-election, kind of like us. But yes, if you're interested in being nominated to the District 4 board, please write to me, Beth F. Omansky at AOL.com.
So then anybody can nominate themselves? Is that?
You can nominate yourself, but they end up choosing people to represent all different parts of District 4. So they go by geography and diversity and, like 5 different factors.
Okay.
I'd vote for you.
I'm not nominating myself.
Oh, come on.
And you're not going to come on District 4?
No, too much for me right now. Too much work travel.
But I will be happy to continue my role as District 4 rep once we have a new board and officers here.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. Okay. Will, would you like to give an update on what the communications task force has been up to?
Sure thing. Oh, that's an interesting point of view. There you go. I look like I'm telling a ghost story around a campfire. Okay, basically communications is getting its act together, thank goodness. Basically, we are focusing at this point on consistent messaging and bringing on the talents that we have in Marilyn Shaw and Sarah Dodge and the rest of the team who are taking on some very specific technical issues about communication. But the focus is to not do technical stuff, but to get the word out clearly, effectively, and on time to the general public. There are some basic messages. What's our mission? What's our vision? And so on, which we think is a bit above our pay grade as a communications group. It's more of a governance thing or a board level thing. But once these are set, and how do we give messages? Where do we give it? And who do we give it to? Is an ongoing issue. We have some real expertise here, as I have joked, but it's not really a joke. I am the least qualified in what to do about communications. So I'm basically coordinating a bunch of talented people as best I can and may be able to give the job off to somebody who's better qualified and continue my journey myself. But the communications team really is I think, an exciting set of people. Feel free to tap in and say, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to know that as it comes up, and we will try to meet the request. Anybody else from the task force have something they'd like to add? Okay, thank you very much.
Here. Thank you, Will. Tad, do you have an update on what the governance committee has been up to?
Yes, I now posted under meeting material is this document. May not. I think it's enough for the room. This is a motion from the governance committee to amend the bylaws. So we are presenting it today, and we can discuss it today, but because it is an amendment to the bylaws, we cannot vote on it today. You may recall that I said these same words 2 months ago. concerning the same issue, emergency board meetings. I presented a motion. Got some objection to that motion, so last month I withdrew that motion. And this is the replacement motion.
Whoops, there we go.
And as you can see, well, you can see in the three columns here, the current language in the bylaws is on the left. The proposed language is on the right. And in the middle, you see striking out everything that is current now and replacing it with the proposed. And the current language includes notice of an emergency meeting to all parties not less than 24 hours in advance. I'm going to read the proposed. The president, after consultation with the other available officers, may act on behalf of the MNA in an emergency. Immediately after taking independent action, the president shall call for an emergency board meeting to ratify the action, giving at least 24 hours notice of the date and time. The notice shall state the reason for the emergency. Independent action without notice and board vote, the board may ratify or repudiate the action. So this is the proposed amendment to the bylaws. Is there any question or discussion?
Give an example of an emergency action hypothetically that the president might.
Two. We had two instances this year where emergency actions and board meetings had to be called that we couldn't actually call an emergency board meeting because of the 24-hour notice. One was the death of our current president. We needed to come together and decide pretty quickly what was going to happen and what sort of communication we wanted to put out there. So with the current bylaws, we wouldn't have been able to do that because we had to post a 24-hour notice, whereas we ended up calling a emergency communications task force group to discuss what happened. The 24 hours notice would have been too long of a time frame between that happening. And the other one was the Multnomah Arts Center budget funding, where we got notice literally 3 hours before the budget was discussed and approved. Or I don't know, I think he ended up withdrawing it, but it was like hours before the actual committee commissioner meeting that they had, where we didn't have enough time to come together to decide as the board, do we want to support funding of MAC or not, or oppose it. So those are two instances where we kind of were limited on what we could do as a board in an official policy position without that 24-hour notice. So this would allow us to, like the president, I could have consulted with the other officers, the treasurer and the secretary. Hey, this is kind of the direction I want to take, discuss with them. Is this going to be appropriate position for MNA to take? I'll go ahead and act on that as president, and then we can come together as a board to decide to vote on that. Like, yes, we agree with what the president did and we approve that, or no, we don't agree with what the president did, which hopefully that would never happen. But this kind of protects MNA from a president going rogue and doing something on their own.
What kinds of funds? How could you?
I don't know.
Fun?
I don't know.
The Arts Center was giving them funds.
Well, we didn't give them funds. We voted to support the MAC Center, that we wanted it to be funded because the city council was trying to take away funds. We weren't actually giving them any funds. We were just saying we were endorsing it. Like, we support this being in our neighborhood. A lot of our people use it. We want it to be funded. We want it to be continued. We want the city of Portland to fund Multnomah Arts Center, not that we were giving money.
If I can, read between the lines of the last question.
Sure.
Is there anything in the bylaws or the powers of the president versus the treasurer that would safeguard the funds of the Multnomah Neighborhood Association from a president absconding using some emergency with the company funds.
There are safeguards, I believe, in the bylaws. I don't know them by heart. But there are like, there is, how many pages is the financial standing rules? It's like 10 pages of rules that we have to follow to use any of our money. And so those, we'd have to follow all of those steps. So there are definitely like checks and balances where a president couldn't just like go out and.
That must be from Oni, wait, the 10 pages you're referring to?
No, they're M&A's financial standing rules.
Yeah.
I did read those.
There are financial standing rules for M&A.
Oh.
And 2 or 3 pages of them that I created.
It's a whole process. You have to like request the
So,
funds and the treasurer has to approve it.
And there is in the
yeah.
bylaws, there are provisions for removing a president put by other officers or board members. I don't know all these things by heart, but yeah, there are safeguards.
Okay, we have a couple of questions online. Patrick, I believe you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I was, there's no mention of how a meeting would be held. And so I'm assuming, because it wasn't mentioned, that there would be no restriction on how the board members could communicate with one another, either by Zoom or by phone, or maybe even by text or email. If some people are not available, let's say they're out of the country, don't have a good connection. So is that a good assumption that no matter how these people can communicate in a short term, that those means would be all would be acceptable?
My interpretation is yes. That's why we in the first line said after consultation with other available officers. So anyone that you're able to connect with through whatever communication means. I don't feel like we should limit it by specifically stating what the communication means should be in the bylaws, because that would just hinder any progress being made. Another question online, and then I'll go to you. Amanda?
Yeah, first, thank you to the Governance Committee for responding to Beth and my concerns about the previous motion. I very much appreciate the openness. Second of all, at the discussion of the Governance Committee, which Beth and I attended as ad hoc members, it was discussed that the standing rules should address what an emergency means, which I think could also address Patrick's concerns.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was just going to comment on the prior question, because normally bylaws define a regular or emergency meeting that there just has to be a quorum of people present, whether by Zoom or, and usually has a different definition for participation if you're not present in Zoom, in person or by Zoom. Like that you can do a vote by email, but normally, often that's like it has to be a unanimous consent vote or something like that. And it's normally in bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
Our bylaws do state quorums, and our bylaws do not allow for proxy voting. That has also been a topic of conversation in the governance committee. And the governance committee just determined that, to Amanda's point, the more we kind of limit ourselves in the bylaws, like anytime something comes up and we have to change it, we have to go through this whole process. So having them as a standing rule allows us to be more flexible in making changes as our board changes, as our neighborhood changes, as anything else changes, we can adopt to those. So there will be standing rules that the governance committee will propose on defining what an emergency, what qualifies as an emergency, first of all, and the means of communication for the board to connect. I get that right, governance? Yes. I kind of took over, sorry. Any other questions or discussion on this motion?
I would just add maybe one other thing. I don't think I'm about to mention anything, but it just says that, immediately doesn't really have a definition of how, like, because under these rules, I could say, well, immediately is 2 weeks from now, I'll have a meeting with 24 hours notice, but I don't know if that matters to anybody, but it doesn't say whether it's within a week or, it could be a month. That could be interpreted as, it just doesn't set a standard.
I think the language is too vague in the proposed changes.
The last line, the board may ratify or repudiate the action, is where this proposal keeps the president accountable for any emergency actions. They may decide that it was completely unnecessary. They can fire the president as a result of something inappropriate, even for waiting too long to call that next
Couldn't the
emergency
board do
meeting.
that on an ad hoc basis anyway, under any circumstance?
Removal of the
Couldn't board do that
president?
Well,
anyway, fire the president or whatever happened, I mean, that's in the bylaws now.
yeah,
I mean, the language that starts out after consultation with the other available officers, that's so vague, but nobody was available. What does that
Then
mean?
the president can't take an action because he wasn't able to,
No.
they weren't able to consult with
Well,
the
I
other available
consulted
officers.
with the available officers, which was zero.
as discussed in the governance committee, that's part of what the president is accountable for. If it turns out the president didn't really try very hard to reach the other officers, well, that's a problem.
That's,
So,
yeah,
There's
the last line
there's
is safeguard against that.
there's a lot of trust built into this, but there's an equal amount of accountability.
A lot of boards have the equivalent of that word, an executive committee, which is like what the city officers do have a more formal. It's a smaller group, so I think you can get 3 people together and more likely, and it does have the requirement of actually having a meeting of the executive committee to make a decision rather than one person. So this is just a more allowing an easier process, I guess, for a single president to make a decision.
Amanda, I think you said that this language exists in other organizations you're associated with.
Yes, in fact, in many of them, it's merely ratified at the next board meeting. There isn't a call for an emergency meeting, but it's pretty common for neighborhood associations to allow the president to act on behalf of the neighborhood in an emergency.
Which I think is a great thing. I think the president should have that latitude. And like you say, if the president oversteps, then the board is there to slap their hand.
Right, exactly. And we love.
Okay.
As I said, we will vote on this at the next meeting. If anyone hearing me would like to propose an amendment to this amendment, let me know. That's how the process works. That's why we replaced the last proposed amendment with this one. That was we scrapped that one and now have this.
And there's the reason we can't vote on this meeting is because it hasn't been on the table for 35 days. Is that right?
Right, because this is an amendment to the bylaws.
Yeah.
It requires 30 days notice, and when we do vote on it, 2/3, not just a simple majority.
Okay.
Okay.
And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you.
So if this issue is really important to you, come back on December 9th.
Or send an email to Tad, letting him know. And then join the governance committee.
In this case, that's not.
Sorry, I didn't.
In this case, that's not.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So January then.
Yeah.
Previous president to act on.
Okay. The comment in there for those online to hear was that the next meeting is not within 30 days from this notice, so it will be January when we vote.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be an emergency.
All right, let's move on to the rest of our committee updates. Pam, would you like to give an update on Spring Garden Park, or will Sarah be doing that today?
I think she was doing dinner right now, so I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great things going on in Spring Garden Park. We've had 2 committee meetings, October and November. We have about 4 new people who are interested in joining Spring Garden, one of whom is very interested in grant writing, so we're very excited about that. So if you're interested in joining the park, let us know, the committee. Pam in particular assisted in corralling a bunch of neighbors into having car-free trick-or-treating on Halloween. So that was in a juncture to the park. And speaking of grants, we will be moving forward with applying for the small grant with Portland Parks Foundation. This past summer, it helped fund the Portland Parks and Rec Summer Free for All, which was the movie in the park. So we're going to be moving forward with that. They require 2 people to submit that, and I'll be the lead, and Laura Janowicz, one of the newer members, will be partnering on that as well. And then one thing that Pam and I attended recently, there's a newer alliance called Portland Parks Alliance, and they're bringing together over 50 friends groups and other volunteer organizations to share knowledge and resources and be really the leader in that alliance meeting. Identify friction points that are happening within parks across Portland and kind of raise them up the flagpole to Portland Parks and Rec. So we joined a meeting there, and it was really interesting to see the different dynamics. Every park seems to have a unique set of challenges. So really looking forward to being able to continue to meet with them. That's all I got. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Well, Will, would you like to share your equity report?
I keep it brief because we're running a little overtime here. Before I get into equity, I want to acknowledge some people I didn't mention in communications. Pam and Kate Worth and Diane, our chair, are leaving the communications group. They have all been incredibly effective in getting things done. And I should mention Julie Leet and Peter Sampson, who are on the committee. And basically, if you give them something to do, it gets done. So we're really proud of all the people who have served and are continuing to serve on the committee. Okay, and for equity, we actually have a new project. It's not a new project, it's revived. It's Stevens Creek Crossing, the low-income housing project over near Vermont, is reviving their community garden project. We have agreed in the past to provide some financial support for that, as well as collaborating. We're also working to some extent with Sanjuro Jogdeo, with the Public Safety Committee, to deal with issues around the safety in the area, as well as possibly involving people from the Safe Rest Village in the project. We also consider our support for the reps to the Community Advisory Committee as an equity project to make sure our neighbors are being well treated and not being taken advantage of by the city or other places like that. And finally, we do work with the Southwest Equity Coalition, which also has Community Garden Project and is, as you might expect, heavily involved in the immigrant and refugee community and their interactions with the federal government. So we're pretty active. This is a committee which is fairly small in committee membership. Welcome people to come in either as members or as people with certain specific equity issues they'd like to bring forward. So I'll stop for now. You can read the report online.
Thank you, Will. Stefan, would like to give a transportation update?
Oh,
do you have a question?
yeah, I just had a question for Will, not a question, it's a statement. Your treasurer will look forward to receiving a plan about the spending that you have in mind. Thank you.
It doubles for your transportation committee chair too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, on the transportation side of things,
Me,
I
I would like to pop in here, Beth,
yeah,
for a
Sure.
second. I'm kind of the main lead on, at the moment, dealing with the garden project. And they have drawn up a budget, and we will probably do some sharing with them. And I have not seen the budget yet. I just learned about that yesterday, but we're moving ahead on it. So I'm excited about that. Plus, there is one other organization that Will found through going to a SWEC meeting that wishes to get involved with the garden project. As far as public safety goes, there was a problem on California Street, which seems to have gone away. There were needles there before, and there haven't been for quite some time now. So we don't really have a public safety problem within the complex itself.
Yeah. And Peter, in terms of getting a plan, you'll get a plan when we get a plan.
All right. Thank you guys. Okay.
I don't have much to report on the transportation side of things. I'm pretty stalled out on the one project that I'm trying to work on, which is to plant trees at 35th and Falcon. If you're familiar with that intersection, had the very big slip lane that we were able to get closed and turned into a standard four-way stop. There's some unused right-of-way that we wanted to convert, that I'm trying to convert back into unimproved right-of-way. As ironic as that sounds, but if you've ever been to 35th and Falcon, the whole entire area is covered in impervious surface, and it would be nice to have a little space with some trees and ideally a bench. I've reached out to TBOT and BES in attempts to try to get a permit for this work, and have gotten a bunch of folks more or less rolling their eyes at me in an email. So at some point, I'll just reach out to Director Millicent Williams and say, can I get a favor, please? So, any of y'all work for PMOD or BES? Okay.
Now, anyone online working?
And then hopefully if I can get a permit for that, I will be planning a project and use some of those funds.
Awesome.
That's my goal.
Yeah. The bump out at 35th and all numbers
that is all go.
Okay.
So the last I heard is hopefully it gets done in the summer of 2026. This is going to be a very simple pedestrian safety project at the southwest corner of 35th and Multnomah, right in front of the food trucks. To make that, if you've ever waited at that crosswalk, it's a very narrow piece of pavement you get to stand on. Additionally, there is a small grant that PBOT is giving to Maplewood Bike Bus to do some improvements along that. As someone who participates in the bike bus nearly every Friday, the most dangerous stretch is from Johns Market to Maplewood Drive. After that, the bike bus is very fun and chill. But unfortunately, any improvements along Multnomah probably will not be able to be funded by this very, very small grant. So, but yes.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some things in the work there.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Next up is our Multnomah CAC. Will that be?
I can talk. Hi,
Okay.
it's Paloma, she, her pronouns. I'm here and I can't see all the pictures, but I know Lisa spoke earlier and she is also one of our 4 committee members. And I would say that the news is that everything seems to be continuing in terms of the lighting is still too much. The neighbors are constantly having noise of barking dogs and people yelling, including expletives, and people sounding agitated. And there is the hotline is now being staffed 24/7 from inside the Sears building, but it's not like it was with the past operator where we neighbors can call and have someone answer the phone and respond. Instead, it often goes to like a voice message, and folks don't know when, how long until someone's getting it. Neighbors are also tired of just feeling like they need to call in order for the staff to hear the noise and try to address the noise. So basically, problems are generally continuing. And another update basically is that it doesn't look like the city's looking to increase the number of folks at the Multnomah Safe Rest Village. They're really focusing on using all of their resources to increase the number of overnight shelter beds, and they are really ramping up the number, and along with that, ramping up their police enforcement, where they'll be arresting and ticketing people who are on the street and for a variety of reasons refuse going to a shelter. So that's kind of the short update. I know we're short on time.
Any questions for CAC group? Okay. Next up is Sanjura with public safety.
Hello. I focused mostly on the District 4 Coalition incident reporting sort of system that they developed. It seems to work great for overnight shelters, but doesn't really capture the information that we might want to capture for the Safe Rest Village. I have talked to the developer of that system, and it's a pretty open system, and he's quite happy to help us plug into it if we want to gather different sorts of data and sort of combine it with what they're gathering that's more suitable to the overnight shelters. So I would be interested in working with either the CAC or with nearby neighbors. It sounds like they're getting pretty tired of reporting stuff and not having any action take place. It might be helpful to have a really good system for reporting what all is happening, so that it's sort of evidence that you can provide to whoever that you want to provide to. But it is a big burden. It would be a big burden for nearby neighbors to report all this stuff. So I am happy to try to work with folks to see if we can get something that might help nearby neighbors sort of get some action on the stuff that they've been experiencing. That's about it for me.
Could I say something here? I think Megan's still here.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I went through emails for 2 months, just for 2 months, and we came up with 26-ish infractions of noise, drug dealing, people getting woken at night, and that was just from emails between neighbors. That doesn't include all the calls to the Safe Rest Village to try to get help. And that doesn't include calls to the police. So that just gives you a snapshot of what we're dealing with down here. And I don't know the answer, but the CAC, and I'm speaking now as a CAC member and an adjacent neighbor, we can't get anything done. So it just feels everyone's frustrated. People aren't sleeping. It's getting worse. We've gone from 30 people to 100. Now we're at about 120 plus 16 dogs crammed into a parking lot. And the city admits that they're sending people to the site that are completely mentally unstable, and they're locking them in pods and calming them down with caffeine and cigarettes. So I don't know the answer here, but I'm telling everyone on the board, and I'm telling everyone tonight, we need your help. This Safe Rest Village is not working for the adjacent neighbors. Megan was on the phone with the police, I think twice this weekend. And maybe she can speak to that. This isn't working. So we need something out.
Just once on Saturday, I finally did just call the police, because calling the Safe Rest Village directly doesn't work. We don't get answers. And I was honestly scared, scared for the people in the Safe Rest Village as well as for the people around the village. If everybody heard the screaming and all of the things that happen there, I think that you would have a different idea of what it's like to live near it. It's hard when you're removed from it. You don't hear it and you don't really know what's going on, but it's scary and we're scared and we do need help.
I proposed at one of our meetings that the neighborhood association would pay for a phone that the employees would have on their hip. And the minute the phone rang, they would be required to answer. And that phone number would be given to all the adjacent neighbors. We've tried that to have a direct line now for a year. They won't even do that. So we don't know what else to do. If anyone here wants to join, come to our committee meetings, if the board can find some money in their budget to hire an attorney, I don't know the answer, but we can't keep doing this. This is not working for the neighbors.
Thank you for sharing, Lisa. Any other questions for someone? I just had one note. I just wanted to remind everyone that it's getting darker earlier. And so all of those that walk in the evening, to please remember to be safe and wear bright clothing or reflective. So like 6 people driving home tonight, well, all wearing all black, walking their dogs. Like, I can barely see you. So just all wear bright colors when we're out walking our dogs or just walking at night. Okay. And I missed this earlier. I think they dropped, but Shelby wanted to share a note with Stefan. Says a PBOT is adding Southwest California and Capital to their crosswalk survey queue, and that she spoke with Rick Nice about this, and they want to know if the primary use of pedestrian traffic is around the church service so they can ensure adequate survey scheduling. So we just connect with Shelby on that.
Excellent.
Okay. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda is election of board members and officers. So tonight we will be electing 11 board members, specific or board seats, specifically a president, treasurer, secretary, and 8 at-large seats. The nominations have closed. Would the nominations committee chair like to call forth a motion?
Yes, but first I'd like to read the nominees just so everyone can hear it. And I'm reading from a document that's in the meeting material folder. For officers, we have only one nominee for each position, except vice president, for which we have no nominees. For president, Stephen McLandrich. Secretary, Julie Leet, who is the incumbent. For treasurer, Peter Sampson, the incumbent. 3 returning directors, Will Fuller, Beth Omansky, and Tad Davis. And 5 nominees for director who would be new to the board. Sarah Dodge, Christopher Lett, Shelby Campbell, Carolyn West, and Anita Walton. That leaves, so altogether, there are still 4 vacancies in the board for vice president and 3 director positions. And we, as was said, nominations are closed right now. These are the only considerations, but the board can look at filling these 4 vacancies at later board meetings. This would be a good time for people to introduce themselves if they have something.
That'd be a great idea. Okay. well, I know Sarah's here, then so I'm gonna put her on the spot first. Sarah Dodge, would you like to introduce yourself and say something quick about why you are running to be on the board?
Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. Sarah Dodge. I am already kind of in the M&A sphere as web assistant and co-chair of Spring Garden Park. So I just wanted to do more. I really love the neighborhood, and yeah, so here I am.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah. Okay. I see Adita on Zoom. Anita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I'm attending a conference, and so there's a lot of background noise. So I just want to introduce myself, Anita Walden. I've lived in the neighborhood for a number of years, and I thought I would take the time to get more involved to support my neighborhood. So that's the reason why I would like to be on the board.
Thank you. Shelby, I believe I see you online.
Hi, yes, I'm actually dropping off my rental car right now, so I gotta go. I'll make it really brief, but it's kind of to echo everybody else, I lived in the neighborhood for about 4 years now and have really young kiddos. And so we'll be here for a while and just want to be more involved and be part of my community. So I hope you'll have me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby. And then Christopher, you're online as well. You'd like to introduce yourself?
That's my husband. I'll vouch for him. I do. He did take our red eye last night with our 3 kids, and so he really just might actually just not actually be there. But I promise he's worth it. He's good. Thank you.
Okay, and then I don't see Carolyn online, and I don't see her in person. So that are all of our new board members.
Thank you. I'm gonna read some notes about the election process. To vote, you must be an MNA member as of October 21st. That is, as of you had to have submitted consent to membership at the last meeting in October. You must be present in this room or online to vote. No proxy voting. That's it. And with that, as nominations committee chair, I move, Madam President, that we adopt this list of nominees as a slate with a single vote.
Okay, do we have
I'll second the motion.
Second, okay. Can I just have your name for the record? Sorry.
Stuart Browns.
All right. Now we will proceed with voting. For I think we'll just do this as a simple all in favor vote since it's a single slate. So I don't know, Will, if you want to, we could just use the raise hand function instead of the polling for the online for Zoom. But all of those in favor of this adopting or electing our nominees to director and officer positions, please say aye or raise your hand in the chat.
Aye.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 online confirmed, or 13, 14. All right, any opposed? Say nay. Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay, we will consider this motion passed. Stefan McLandish is our new president.
Yes, when the meeting's over.
Thank you to all of our incumbent and returning board members, and to all of our new board members. It will be a great year.
Thank you, Diane, too, also.
Yeah. Diane, you.
You didn't get a chance to introduce yourself though.
So yes, hi, everybody. I'm Stephen McLandridge. For those of you that don't know me, I've been involved with the MNA for probably close to 4 years now. My main interest is in transportation. Tad had a wonderful phone call with me and helped push me over the edge to accept the nomination. So thank you, Tad.
My pleasure.
And my goal is to have the MNA be a vehicle for everybody in our neighborhood that has different energy and things that they want to put their time into. And I'd like to just make sure that the MNA is here to support all of our different passions and projects and whatnot. So, yeah.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you for stepping up.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also too, it would be great to have a vice president. If someone is willing, your work commitment could be close to like 0 in this field. But what would be best is someone who wants to be vice president this year and then take over as president next year with a new vice president. And so it's sort of like a 2-year thing where the first year you're vice president, second year you're president, and then we can all just rotate through it, and in 4 years I'll do it again or something. But yeah.
4-year plan.
I will say when I was vice president, the role was very minimal.
Yeah. I'm healthy.
Until.
I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Only 44 today.
Okay. That's fine. I will bring up, open up to new business now. If there's anybody that has a topic that they would like to have addressed at the next or future meeting, now would be the time to bring that submission proposal up if you'd like to. Not, you can always email the president to add it to the next agenda. I'll pause there for a minute if anyone has any new business they'd like to bring up.
This is Lisa. I just have a quick question about the RICAP and the AHOP going before City Council. And is anyone from the neighborhood board going to be speaking? And how is that all going to work?
I believe Will was present at a few of those meetings. AHOP was decided, wasn't it, Will?
Well, actually, neither of those has come up to the board yet, to the city council, excuse me. And that's the next and final step for adopting the 2 proposals. I plan to testify on both of them. We have a very limited amount of power to make a change there. What we want is a small part of a large proposal, and we have not successfully got them to separate out the Multnomah Safe Rest Village from the rest of it. We have, however, made a very strong statement, enough that we did get a small concession where they dropped the number of allowed pods in zones like the one for Safe Rest Village here, from 200 participants or 200 pods to 100 pods. A pod can have 2 people in it, so it's from 200 people to 400 to 200. It's a minor thing. The overall thing we were putting out was we weren't going to just lie down and take it when the city comes in and puts something on us without our say-so. And that's only one of the many ways we're talking to the city. Talking directly with the council members, our 3 plus the others as necessary, spreading the word. You've heard from the frustrated neighbors. There are only a dozen or so neighbors in the area, but those neighbors should have the support of the entire neighborhood, including the people who sleep nicely because they can't hear the noise. So more to be done. I'll let you, as soon as I know a time when the city council is beginning to consider these, we'll bring them up. I want one thing quickly about this. They aren't directly related to the Good Neighbor Agreement, which is the charge of our representatives. They are related to the cities imposing on neighborhoods without adequate input or review. Okay?
I'll just quickly add, I believe the District 4 Land Use and Transportation is also supporting our motions and has,
Yes, District 4 did
Yeah.
support our motion.
yes, and so they are helping to amplify our voice, and our District 4 representative Beth is helping to be the bridge between our two organizations on that.
So then if I understand what you're saying is we don't have a date yet for this to go before city council, and that the board and District 4 are opposed both to RICAP and the AHOP,
Correct.
a continuation of the Safe Rest Village.
And for the Safe Rest, yes, for their effect on the Safe Rest Village, but the overall effect of these motions or these proposals has to do with not just the Safe Rest Village, but how the city approaches neighborhood interests for any sort of activity like a Safe Rest Village or other things that they basically say you got to do it, whether you want to or not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that concludes all of our agenda for today. So right now our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 11th, and it will be chaired by our newly elected president, Stefan. So
All right.
that concludes tonight's annual meeting of the Multnomah Neighborhood Association. It is 8:13 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Ninth.
Ninth.
So that
December 9th.
It's December 9th. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was on one day. December 9th.
Well.